Hey, so I've mentioned this once or twice here on the channel, but I like Spider-Man. I'm not like a super duper crazy fan or anything, but yeah, I've always dug on Spidey. Being a primarily music-centric channel, I don't often get the chance to talk about my favorite friendly neighborhood web slinger, and the few times I have, yeah.
Fuck Nickelback.
But hey, Spider-Man's been in plenty of games too. That's a thing we do here sometimes now. That would give me plenty of opportunities to wax Spiderific, right? Yeah, big problem there. 90% of them guzzle ass. It sucks that there haven't been too many good Spider-Man games. Not that there haven't been any at all. Some of the PS1 titles were good, at least for their time. I've always loved Maximum Carnage, even though it's kinda assy as hell. And everybody remembers how good the web slinging was in the PS2 era version of Spider-Man 2. But man, we've just never really nailed it with another Spider-Man game, have we? In fact, if some of you were completely anti-hyped at the prospect of another Spidey title coming out, believe me, I get that. Hell, it's not like Spider-Man's been entirely absent from more recent generations, and those games have been mediocre at best and at worst. Good God, nothing about this version of the franchise was good, was it? I mean, apart from the stuff where he's not the main face of the game, Spidey's game record is dodgy at best. Awesome E3 reveal, cool trailers or no, this game had a lot to prove, but Lord knows it wasn't in incapable hands. This is actually a Sony first-party title being published in-house directly and developed by Insomniac Games. A fairly strong developer. You probably know them from titles like Ratchet & Clank, Spyro the Dragon, and the Resistance franchise, if that was your thing, but it was in much better hands than it ever had been before. I mean, compared to the likes of Activision, Acclaim, and LJN, oh, that is not saying much, but people had high hopes for this one. More hope than we'd ever had before, at least. But with great license comes great responsibility, or something like that. So in the hands of an actually capable studio, were Sony and Insomniac able to— Yes! Yes! The answer is yes! Whatever generic setup-y bullshit I was about to spew out, yes! This game is good! Man, as a Spidey fan, I have been waiting for a game like this for a long-ass time. It's so damn good. Everything about this title is more or less what I've always wanted to see out of a Spider-Man game. Let me start with the first big thing. Web slinging is back, baby! Woo! Everyone and their brother likes to talk about how much they miss the web slinging and city traversal system from Spider-Man 2, and while it was really, really good, man, I remember literally nothing else from that game. This title finally brings back that kinetic, highly fluid, speedy, and intense form of travel. It's so much fun to execute here. Hell, it's so much fun I often found myself foregoing the fast travel system to get to place, just so I would have more opportunities to swing around and zip and glide and whee! Oh my god, my ass is running up a building! It's so natural feeling. This game makes it all feel just so first nature. You get into its groove super easy, and as they add more mechanics to your web slinging, it only enhances your ability to traverse the map and becomes even more fun to do. Swinging around is very kinetic. You aren't just holding a button and firing your Spidey guy into the next objective like a big dumb red and blue missile. No, you're constantly engaging in different button combos, different timing exercises, and split-second decision making as to what kind of move you should do next in order to maintain speed or gain altitude. It's satisfying. It's about as satisfying as entering combos for like special moves in a fighting game, except you're doing it all the time and holy shit, I'm gonna fucking die! It's a perfect balance of skill, timing, and thought, and I can't even imagine what must have gone into making these mechanics work as well as they do. To answer the biggest question straight up front, yes, these are the best web slinging mechanics since the 6th generation title. People, it's back, baby. It's finally back. Hell, I'd say they're even better than that old game, primarily because not only are the web slinging mechanics really good, but they're only the icing on a very scrumptious and weirdly sticky cake. Combat feels terrific in this game. Again, it's extremely fluid and dexterous. Those of you watching this footage here may be getting flashbacks to a certain
make of bats. So I think, okay, how?
And I mean, yeah, if you've played any of the Arkham games, I'd say this does take more than a few cues from that old formula. To be fair, Batman originally stole most of these moves from Spider-Man. What the fuck is this, Batso? Oh, you got a batty sense that makes you sense danger? Since when? You ain't nothing but a goth-ass knockoff, you punk bitch. Oh god, the comments are gonna get uglier than sin now, aren't they? I'm joking, people. Put your diapers back on. It is pretty reminiscent of the Arkham games, though. If you spent any time with those, you'll probably settle into this system pretty quickly, but I feel like this game does it, well, probably even better than those. For one, there is a plethora of options you can utilize with this combat system. Spidey is much more jumpy, spinny, kicky, and versatile of a fighter than big old Bats is. It just goes with being a cruiserweight. Spider-Man is more Rey Mysterio Jr., Batman is more Roman Reigns. Oh god, please don't kill me. Spidey can jump all over the shop. Web guys up, throw shit all over the place. Web guys up and then throw them all over the place. He can disarm people and then throw their guns back at them. Pick up grenades and throw those back at foes, or there's even an upgrade later in the game that lets you catch missiles in midair and hurl them back like wham! Not to mention there are a ton of upgrades to the combat you can purchase as well. This combat system is like Arkham Asylum on crank. You can upgrade your webbing to either shock or stun enemies, blast them away like a shotgun, set up tripwire traps so they just walk into your webs like haha, dumbass. And in addition, Spider-Man can unlock various different suits with additional powerful buffs and certain abilities. Stuff like quad damage, damage absorption, these badass things, holy shit, and even area of effect attacks that, oh my god. This is the stuff dreams are made of. Spider Crash is canon. And people, it's worth it to go for all these upgrades too. The game lets you go about getting them however the hell you want to do it. Most side missions, and even story missions, allow you a chance to try and stealth through the area if you want to be a sneaky spider. And the stealth mechanics in this game are also really pretty good. It's not the usual, oh, one guard spotted me, so I guess I'm fucked right in the spider hole, with one small exception that we'll get to. But here, 90% of the time, you can usually stealth things up for as long as you like, and if you get caught, it's not immediately impossible to escape back into the shadows and, you know, take another crack at it. But hell, most of the time, if you do fuck up and decide to give subtlety a big old middle finger, the mission doesn't immediately kick you. You just gotta kick the mission instead. It allows for stealth and active combat to both be viable options for most missions. So whatever approach you want to take, go for it. You're the doofus in the costume. Do it your way, homie. I like how organic and open the gameplay feels. Hell, one of the coolest features of the game is catching word of a crime on your police radio, tracking down where it is, and just kicking some random ass on the way to do some community service and shit. It's great. It never feels intrusive. It never feels fetch questy, and you're always earning tokens towards those sweet, sweet unlocks when you do stuff, so it always feels rewarding. Assassin's Creed, this is not. I can wander through Manhattan for hours, just swinging around, having a blast, and occasionally looking for some bad guys to beat down. It's stupid, but insanely cathartic fun. There's just so much about this game that's good. Even the story's a lot better than it needs to be. This story isn't actually tied to any current movie, comic, TV show, or anything like that. It's not even tied into the Marvel Cinematic Universe proper. Insomniac were basically able to tell whatever story they wanted here, though I assume with heavy controlling hands from the Marvel bigwigs. But hey, the one they decided to tell is surprisingly engaging, fun, and surprisingly dark at times. Like, the story is so good here, I don't even want to spoil it for you. I will say though that A, thank God it's not another origin story. In fact, in this title, Peter Parker's been Spider-Man for nearly a decade. B, Miles Morales shows up in this game, so wow, I don't know what's exactly canon in the Spideyverse, but this has gotta fuck up some timelines, I'm sure. And C, J. Jonah Jameson quits the Bugle in this game, and he's basically become the Marvel Universe's equivalent to an Alex Jones nutcase. That is fucking brilliant. Like, he has this stupid little radio show, and you'll listen to little snippets of it as you web sling along the city, and God, it's always funny watching this crazy old nut flap his stupid empty gob.
Spider-Man's gonna make the whole world game!
There were even a few moments, particularly at the end, that, no joke, almost had me crying. It's surprisingly touching. Again, I don't want to spoil any of this, but fuck you, Insomniac. Fuck you! Fuck you for what you did, you beautiful Spyro-making bastards. Again, especially when compared to Spider-Man games of the past, this is head and shoulders and another head above any other title we've gotten. It still has a few minor flaws though, nothing that's nearly as deal-breaky as in some of the other titles, for sure, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention them, you know? For one, even as good as the story is, it has its little moments. Like, you know how all the trailers made it seem like this was going to be a Sinister Six game? You know, they show all the big villains attacking Spidey in the super prison. You know, they're kicking his ass. It looks like you're going to be taking all these bad motherfuckers down. Not really. That kind of doesn't happen until the very end. The first 2/3 of the game is actually centered around Mr. Negative. Yeah, don't worry, I had to look him up too. Granted, he is a very compelling villain with an interesting character arc and motivations. They do a pretty damn good job setting him up and building his story, but once you hit about the 66% mark of the game, he just kind of fucks off so the Sinister Six can show up. It sucks because you're just getting invested in him and they just kind of drop him. Again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers. Kingpin actually gets some setup as the very first guy you take down, and they make it seem like he might come roaring back later in the story, but nah, he just kind of disappears and you forget he exists, which is weird because a guy this fucking big doesn't just disappear on you. Even Shocker comes around for a little bit, just long enough to say hi and get his ass beat. I don't know, the way the first half of the story is set up, it makes it seem like Insomniac really wanted this game to center around one central villain who's a very big threat, but then Marvel came in at the last second and said, hey, we got all this hot IP and you fuckers are gonna use it whether you like it or not. Look, they did a great job getting me invested in Mr. Negative's angle, as well as the other main villain. I don't want to spoil for you, but every other villain that shows up in this game, it's basically cameo fodder. I'm not trying to cinema sins this plot or anything. Hey, it's still way more than I was expecting, but it's not without its little oh come on moments, you know? And the story isn't the only thing with its rough edges. Basically, this game works best when you're Spider-Manning your little spidery little man-ass around and doing Spider-Man-y stuff. In Spider-Man, it works best when you're Spider-Man. When you're not web-slinging or punching dudes, the game does take a bit of a turn down, like in a few sections where you have to play as Mary Jane and Miles Morales. Remember when I said the Spider-Man related stealth sections were really cool and utilized a lot of takedown maneuvers and how it was basically the best kind of stealth game? Well, the Mary Jane Miles Morales sections are the exact opposite of that. This is the worst kind of stealth game. No takedowns, no cool acrobatics. Nah, you just walk past people when they aren't looking, and if they are looking, bam, you dead. Start again. There are also these little, I wouldn't even call them mini games, these little activity puzzles where you try to match some lines on a diagram or work your way through the boring Spods version of Pipe Dream to try and fix a gadget or defuse a bomb or analyze some kind of weird fluid in order to solve a mystery. Like it's an episode of Law and Order or something. These are insanely boring little sections, and they often force you to do them right in the middle of high-paced action-y missions. It can be a real pace breaker, plus analyzing a crime scene for clues like this. I know Peter Parker is a scientist, but this feels more like something Batman would do. Holy shit, Spidey ripping off Bats? Bats ripping off Spidey? Welcome to Whose Continuity Is It Anyway, where the franchises don't count and the publisher doesn't matter. It's just a really kind of boring piece of tat they crammed in here in an attempt to break up the action set pieces a wee bit. Novel idea, but in practice it does more to break the pacing than help even it out. Regardless, those are mostly nitpicks. This game is great. It doesn't just clear the low bar many of us already have for Spider-Man games. This is one of the best superhero-related titles I've seen in ages, and it's a terrific little open-world romp. The web slinging is fast and fun, combat is wicked and wild, the story, even with its hiccups, is still great for a not taking itself too seriously comic book affair. Even though, yeah, it has its moments. Seriously, fuck you, Insomniac! And overall, this is just a ridiculously fun title. Spidey fans, this is a must-buy. Legit, Spidey, it's good to see you finally got a good game. Spider-Man gets 4.5 Villains of the Week out of 5.
Super special thanks to Mo Madison, Keller Oran, and Jack Brunton.